Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm Ken Lowen, Director of Client Solutions at Advisicon. For those of you who haven't already worked with Advisicon, I'd like to tell you a little bit about us. Our mission is very straightforward. We want to boost your project management efficiencies by optimizing your processes and technologies, creating measurable results that empower you and your organization. We have over 20 years in the project management industry and are a gold-level project portfolio management partner with Microsoft. So, no matter your organization's size, our team specializes in maximizing your business and personal productivity by leveraging the Microsoft technology experience. For those of you who join us on a weekly basis, you know that today's session is part of the series we call Webinar Wednesday. Each week the topic is different and designed to be helpful information that will have a direct impact on your day-to-day tasks. Today, our session is a re-recording of the session originally delivered on June 8th, during which we had a little bit of a snafu with a fire alarm going off during the first half of our recording. So we will keep to our original script and believe that we're committing or providing all of the additional content in an easier to listen to format. The original session qualified its participants for 1/2 of a PDU, and so the instructions for that are all in the original webinar. We won't touch on that right now because it is not germane to the recorded session. At this point, let's jump into today's topic, and I'll introduce our speaker. We're welcoming Jean Lieberman, Senior Project Advisor at Advisicon, to present on the topic, Look Like a Senior SharePoint Expert by Leveraging These Tips to Brand Your SharePoint Site. Take it away, Jean.
All right, Ken, thank you. And welcome to all. This is a topic that I find really interesting. I hope you do too. I have a slide up here just about myself, which all it really says is I'm sort of geeky about this topic of project management for portfolio management and the tools and all that sort of thing. I like the project server and project online tools. And the other thing is just for interest, a lot of my work has been in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked in Pfizer and Park Davis R&D, which is where I got my start with all this. And so if anybody else has that sort of background and has any interest, contact me. But anyway, today we're going to focus on SharePoint branding and really doing it with a you can hire developers and get them to come in and they can do all kinds of SharePoint branding because there's a lot there that can be done, and it's matured as the years have gone on with SharePoint. But I'm not a developer, I'm more of a power user, and there are things that can be done that are really easy to a little more complex to get things to make your site sort of stand out a little better and grab people's attention. So we're gonna focus on that. So just as a little bit of an introduction, these are 3 home pages from websites they're public websites, and they're out there. I'm going to show them just a little bit more in a second. They don't look like the typical SharePoint. They look like just a typical website, and attractive and has branding and functionality. And the key reason I think people do this is they get to use the functionality of SharePoint while getting to have a more appealing website look. So if you contrast this with this, which is a typical SharePoint site, when you go create a site and you ask for the default team site, it uses this template, and this is what you get. And it's just not as attractive as the others, but it's very functional, and you can configure this and manipulate it in ways to make it more appealing. So when you do that, this is an example. This is the Microsoft Contoso business. If you've ever done any Microsoft demo stuff, their business is Contoso. And this is a website that has been configured and some development to make it look not like this previous version. Whoops, sorry. Which, to get away from that. So we're going to go over from sort of the easier to the little bit or more complex, these different areas, and I put them in here just so I would remember what we're going to do. And hopefully I'll show you something you hadn't thought of or didn't know about, and we'll give you some ideas for branding and configuring your own site. So let me jump over, get out of this, and go to, I want to go here first. So this is a website, Frost Banking Investments, and this is one of those sites that is a SharePoint site, but it doesn't look anything like a SharePoint site. When I hover, I get these nice drop downs. You know, it's got all kinds of functionality here, and it looks, you know, it's a very nicely designed internet site. Another one, just as an example, is this hotel where you can do your reservation, you can do all kinds of things. I would like to go here on my vacation. It looks really nice in Barcelona. And so they're using SharePoint underneath. You know, they've built this on SharePoint, but it looks really nice. So these are highly developed sites. These, you need your SharePoint developers. But let's talk about what we can do. So if I go back to my Contoso site, this is the homepage for the Contoso company, and it doesn't look like that team site. You know, it has the links up here, and when I click here, I get the drop downs, and I can log into Yammer and get my messages. It has a video carousel that I could bring up videos, training. I can bring up a video, you know, all kinds of pictures and various things. I can also add in metrics that can help tell people what's going on with the company, and key links. And so if I do this, it has a very nice look. Now I want to show you just a couple other things with this. So doing a drop down to some of the departments, just to give you some other ideas. Now this looks like more like a regular SharePoint site. However, what they've got here is an Excel report that is dynamic. And if you can sort of think, you can put this on your home page, on your whatever. People don't have to know it's an Excel report. It can be designed and put out there and be functional and very helpful. And that's a great thing that's easy to do with SharePoint. And that's what makes this very useful. And then going to a different one, let me look at my notes here. Okay. If we look on the legal department, so now we have a Word doc, and it's here, and I can scroll through the document, or I can bring it up in a page of its own, and I can scroll through, and it makes a nice way of conveying information. So it's very useful in that regard to do that. And then the last one, we'll see if it comes up quick enough. In the R&D site, is they have a nice use of Visio, but this takes a little bit longer to load. So I am going to try and let that load and come back to my Contoso home. And I just wanted to show you a little bit about the pieces that make this up. Now again, some of this is development and some code somewhere, but a lot of it is just using the site settings. So if I go to site settings, there's a under look and feel, there's the navigation, and I can set up the navigation to be in certain ways. Global navigation is across the top, current navigation is down the bottom, and it has to do with, I can say show all the subsites. So as I create subsites, it will just put them up in the navigation. That's a nice way of having it data driven. And when I come down here, here's what I currently have. I can move things around, I can delete, I can add in links. So just through some nice navigation, it brings it up and makes it look good and be useful. Because this is a site that has publishing capabilities, I can do things, whoops, not this one, let me go back. There's a whole aspect in here of having master pages. And so without going into great detail, master pages are files that describe the shell of SharePoint. And there are defaults that are set up in there that are Seattle and Oslo. And I'll show you a little of that in a second. But you can create these master pages, these shells, with different sorts of design elements. And that's what they've done here. And so through having these master pages, they get this different look. They can configure the colors, the look and feel, and it takes maybe a little bit of understanding of programming development to do, but once you understand it, there's a lot you can do as a power user to help design. And that happens in SharePoint Designer, where you bring up your site, and through the site, a lot of things that you can do in the browser, in the settings, you can do here and do it more easily. So there are lists, you can open up lists, you can do some configuration, and that's where some of this gets done. And I think we will hit that in a bit. So this Contoso site has been configured for all these pieces. So it's just a really nice example. Now, if I go back to my out-of-the-box team site, which looks, you know, as expected out of the box, I can do some basic things just to get it going. And that's what was done with that Contoso. So if I go to my site settings, so I can just, first off, get a different logo. So I can say, instead of team site, I say my great site. And I can get a different logo instead of that. So let me go to my pictures and see if, and I'm going to advertise our company here, Advisicon. So just by putting that, I was able just to pick it, it uploads it to the site, I can give a different name, I hit OK, and already I got a little bit of branding in there, my great site. Now, that was simple. Another thing I can do that's very simple is change the look, and you see that link right there. And what it does is it has composed looks, different sorts of ways of presenting. You can actually add to this as well. We're not going to do that here because it's a short time, but right now it's currently configured with this look and these colors. And I can pick something else, such as Blossom is what it's called, and it'll show you what it looks like. So Blossom has an image behind it, and it just puts it in there faintly so it doesn't, you know, overwhelm the text or your content. It uses a certain color pattern, and it shows you here, but I can change that. I can say, I don't like that one. How about this one? So I'm using the image, or I'm using something. I can make these design choices without having to program anything. All kinds of things. Now you'll also notice here I can make a change. It's called in the site layout. Right now you see this first menu item, second menu item over on the left. That's called the quick launch. up here at the top is the top navigation, navigation 1, 2, 3. That comes from having that site layout, Seattle. I can change it to Oslo, and all of a sudden the items that were on the left are up here in the top. Now people like this one because it seems to be the fashion of the day to have items up here and not down here. And so the ability to do this is just as easy as that. So I say, I'm going with the, oh, and I hit try it out, but down here I can change the fonts. It's in the default font right now, but I could have picked a different font if I liked. It says it's working on it. Obviously, it doesn't know we only have a half hour. So hopefully this is going to show me what it looks like when it kicks in. Like I said, when it kicks in. All right, so now if I make those choices, you can see a little bit of the background behind, and you can see the color choices. And I'm going to say yes, we'll go with that. And here I've made some really simple, technically simple choices that can have an impact on how your site looks. And that's just basic stuff, which is very interesting. All right, so that's the team site. So if I go back and look at it at the home page. So given that, I have set up a couple of pages and sites where I've modified various things, and I now have my Advisicon world. And here I've used that logo, and I'm using that page layout that puts the navigation at the top. And here's my home page to this and my different sites. So, and this is when you create a publishing site collection, use the publishing site, this is what you get, which is also just very helpful because it helps you, just as an aside, go through the links. You can do things that can help guide you. So here's my home page, and this is a site, and it has a different look because I picked a different look and a different selection when I went in to change the look. So when I created my second, or my sub-site, which was site 1, I said use that same, inherit from the parent. And so this is what it looks, and this is a blank or an empty site based on that same look and feel. And I can go, now you might not agree it's the best one to use, but I wanted to pick something that would show you how this is. So let me just check my notes here. And so from here, if I come back to my Advisicon world, just to show you in my site settings, I went into navigation and I did some things. I said show my subsites, and then here are the subsites, and I moved things around because normally this would just put it alphabetically, sort it alphabetically, and that's all to get it up here. I changed the page layout, and I changed the configuration here. Not hard, and that's the point I'm trying to get across, that you can do these simple things, and it makes it interesting and helpful, and gives you a change. One thing with these publishing sites that's sort of interesting is there's a little feature that you can show the ribbon. This is the ribbon at the top. Right now it's not being shown. I can show it, and it will pop on in a second. So now I get these things we're normally used to seeing in SharePoint. Browse page, so if I wanted to edit this page, publish, things like that. But for a more polished site, I might want to just hide that. And that's just a nice little feature. I didn't have to go program anything. So So that's sort of the basic, out of the box using the tools and the features of SharePoint. So I wanted to go just a little further and show you something I have with that has been configured a little bit. So this is a subsite under that same Advisicon world, but I've changed the master page. So we've created a master page that has a little bit different references. And in here, you can see it looks different. I've got this blue banner going across and a different logo and this white space to just make it look differently. And so with this, just to show you a little tool, there is a thing, F12 Developer Tools in IE, and there's the same thing in Chrome and whatever, but I don't know that. I don't know those as well. But this allows me to see the code that is behind the page. Now that's overwhelming in itself, but I can, if I do this right, let's see, I can click on objects, and when I do that, I see what the code is. And I can come in here, and if I don't like the height being 300, I can change it and say, no, let's make it 100. And when I do that, I get to see the change right away. Now this is great for design. It's not doing anything permanent. It's just doing based on what I'm putting in here. And obviously I need to put in 350, whatever it is, PXC, and it changes it. When I get what I like, then I can come into SharePoint Designer and come in and do things. This is a file, it's called a style CSS file, and it has in it, in a format, all the definitions of custom objects that I want. So it has to do with that size thing and the fonts I want to use and all the aspects. It doesn't have to define everything because there's a default CSS file for every site, and that one gets used, and then this gets applied on top of it. And so I can come in here and do some things and see the results as well. Let's see, I'm trying to get to wherever I was here. But having this tool and knowing about it, I found that really interesting when, and I don't have to know all of what's going on here and understand it, but it does give me an aspect to say, oh, I want the padding different, oh, I want this, and see what it looks like. Great design tool. So let me get rid of this, hit my F12. So this is a site, it's my beginning site. I don't have anything in it. But if I go to my new world, here's using that design. Hopefully it comes up. I've just added in some things. Now I went to our Advisicon homepage and I tried to copy some things, and I just did it just quickly to get some things in. So I've taken, you can see the look is that look that is part of the beginning site, and I've added in some info, and if I will show you in a second, it's just a SharePoint page, and I have added in some pictures and some text, and then also what I wanted to show you is I have in here what's called promoted tiles, and it's an app that you add, just like you add a list or a document library, you add promoted tiles, and it gives you the ability to put links and pictures, and they have this nice animation to it, and when I click on it, I can say go to a new web page, open in this web page, or open in this dialog box, and it opens here. And I can put photographs behind these. I just chose one image and changed the color for each thing. And it gives me an easy way to do links that are appealing to the eye. This has a nice look. Also, it gives me the ability to put just a little bit of info here. I can say, you know, when it's not being hovered, you see the ppm below here. But when I hover, I get another piece of info. So with one client, we did this to create sort of a Facebook look for their homepage and put their staff pictures as the images and put their name and department or their name and email, whatever. And it gave a nice way to, quickly send people to their site. Very, very useful app in the tool now, and I just wanted to make sure I showed that. And then, let me see, my last thing that, so this again goes back to that master page and CSS file and what I can do without doing a lot of programming. Like I said, I went from simple to more complex. And just the last thing I wanted to show you is another thing that one can do, which is you can go get, download and purchase and for free SharePoint themes. And I did this for a site, and I'll show you in a sec, where I went and I got this theme. I haven't quite done it all, but I downloaded this free file and it gave me directions on how to set it up. It went through that whole master page and put the file tier and do this sort of thing. So when I am here, my site 3 is actually based on what I downloaded from there. Now, I haven't done much with it, so it's not that attractive, but you can see the background pages sort of behind there, and then it's gobbledygook and various things. And it's just based on the theme that it gave me. So here it's already got the navigation information there. It's got other things. Like I said, I didn't finish it. I just wanted to get this to show you. And that's a lot of free stuff out there on the internet, or people like us can do this for you and customize, but it's all different ways to present this information. And so you have that option of doing all kinds of things. And Ken, I think that brings me back to here, unless there's anything that I need to add.
I don't think there's anything additional, Jean. Thank you very much.
All right.
We'll go to some summary comments. Thanks, everybody. If you're interested in having an opportunity to explore some of the Microsoft technologies that you've seen demonstrated in our various webinars, such as Microsoft Project, SharePoint, Visio, or the rest of Office 365, we would love to set up a free trial or a rich personalized demo for you and your team. So please feel free to reach out to us and we can set that up for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the recording, this is a re-recording of the session that was originally delivered on Wednesday, June 8th, which was disrupted by a fire alarm for half of the recording.
You didn't enjoy that? Come on.
Let's say the beat was good, but the tune wasn't all that pleasing. That session, for those participants in the live webinar, qualified them for half of a PDU. And we offer free PDUs for all of our Webinar Wednesday sessions, and those will continue with next week's session. The topics we present in Webinar Wednesday are influenced by your comments and input, and so we hope that you'll let us know what you think, and we'll do our best to incorporate your feedback. This recording will be uploaded to Advisicon's YouTube channel shortly, and if you recommend that you check out the rest of our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Advisicon, as it contains recordings from our previous Webinar Wednesday sessions along with several additional tutorials and how-to videos that are very helpful. With that, I think we've covered it all. Thank you, everybody. If you have any questions following this webinar, please feel free to reach out directly to any of us here at Advisicon via our website or by picking up the phone. We're here for you, and we would love to answer any questions you have. On behalf of Jean and the rest of the Advisicon team, thank you for sharing part of your day with us, and we wish you all the best.